Hello there, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and we are going to do a little DSP coding today. And in service of that, I'm working on some things regarding the whole studio streaming stuff. So we might, for instance, go kind of dark and vibey here with regard to our lighting. And I might want to make a cup of coffee. And what I can do for starters, here I'm juggling multiple mice and things, is you caught me just fussing with some of these things, like all of this stuff. And I'm thinking I might want to move these things into documents so that I'll know where to look for them. And in fact, I can move that into documents because I use it here. But this I need to have available. And these I need to have available. And sounds I probably need to have available. But I'm kind of rearranging this stuff so that I can work with this. Hey, Gamma. And I should be able to see folks in chat, at least to some extent. I actually have to look over that away to see chat, but I'll try to keep an eye on it. And I can also do things like hide the dock so that less is in the way. Oh yeah, yep, this is Snow Meow. What we're doing is you're watching me working on my classic old laptop. That is what I developed the baseline plugins in. And I'm wondering whether maybe I can hide the menu bar as well. Let's find out. I don't normally do that, but let's see. Nope. Desktop things. Okay, did we just die? Hang on a second now. It did not like me going to screensaver there. So you can at least hear me, even if I'm working to get this back in working order. I may have to restart this machine. Don't mind me, more will be revealed. I have a pile of getting this all together and working. So you're just going to have to look at color bars for a second while I get this going. Powering off the old laptop, powering it back on. Nothing much I can do about this for now, so you'll just have to bear with it. Anytime you're getting an entirely new setup together, these are the kinds of problems you might run into. I'm also going to have to grab this. That's the noise of my laptop starting up. It's so old and degenerate that the speakers are kind of garbage at this point. They're no longer connected properly somehow. And I'm looking at a gray screen. That's not what I want to be seeing, but it's what I'm seeing for now. Yeah, we're going to have to randomly improvise something else if it turns out I've killed my main development laptop trying to do this. That would be an unwelcome... Nope, there it goes. So what I might end up having to do is take a panel out of my desk and be fussing with the Mac Mini that you are on. I can't see a damn thing about who's talking because the color bars That is the converter that takes the HDMI input, which is actually the laptop's graphical output over a mini DisplayPort, and turns it into a USB and then USB-C. It's a pile of little adapters, all of which are very cheap and bad. And right now what we're doing is I'm starting up the laptop from scratch again, because trying to go to a screensaver while it was doing like multiple screens at the same time caused it to go insane and crash. So you got me talking to you right now. That's all I can give you. And I'm getting it. It starts up very slowly. And it says, you shut down the computer because of a problem. Ignore a report. I bet Apple would be delighted to hear a report of problems happening with Snow Leopard at this time. I'm sure that'd be very thrilling for them. And I now have Macro Silicon 1080i and Color ACD 1440 by 900. And as expected, I'm going to have to get over here and here, tell you what. I don't know how well you can see. Oh, no, actually, that's bad too. Let's go back to this. And we're going to, yeah, this is heating up like a bomb, I'll tell you. Unplugging this, replugging that, and then unplugging that. Now you can see me, and maybe replugging it will bring it back. Or not. Oh, looks good, looks good. Yep, we got there. So you can't see a damn thing I was telling you about, but I just had to take this up because I had to sort of re-plug the HDMI thingy until it turned itself on. Yep, we got there. I'll leave that there for now. And so the way I'm doing this is we're back to the old lavalier mic for use with being able to hear things, and I've got the laptop plugged straight into the outputs. So for instance, let's see, yeah, like I can do about this Mac. This is in fact 1068. And I can kind of read chat a little bit, although only on an alternate screen way over there. But it's all good. Doing the best we can. Roaring 8 gigs of RAM on this antique machine. And what was I doing over here? I was trying to figure something out, but and there's a whole bunch of stuff that I've got. Drug money envelope JPEG was a weird thing that got like sent to my neighbors that was very mysterious. It didn't amount to anything. That was like 10 years ago. And what we've got now, that we are back sort of in the zone, is, yes, oh, and I meant to figure out whether I could, let's go to System Preferences and not go to Desktop Screensaver. Or anything, really. And maybe what I'll do is search this on a different computer and see whether you can hide the menu bar. So, because otherwise it gets in the way of the screen. And I think this might be just too old of a machine. So it will be dock and menu bar, but we're actually not getting a chance to hide the menu bar. So that's just going to be how it is. There, that's the only thing we can hide here. And this is too old of a thing to have a dark mode. So yeah. This is what we got for now. Oh yeah, appearance was way back in the day, but I doubt that. Remembering, of course, that when I was, see, it's 10.6.8. I can do dock preferences. But there's some things I just can't go to here. Like I bet switch res X would blow everything up. Hey, Flash Player, Apple Q Master. I have no idea what that even is. So, appearance. I can do graphite appearance, but that's actually not going to help. Highlight colors, and does not look like we're going to be able to hide the menu bar here. So let's abandon that one. It's too old. It is too old, folks. So anyways, as long as I have this, and I'll show you what I did just before starting the stream. After I do something, I need to throw another log in my fire. It's getting cold. Oh yeah. All right, that ought to hang on for a little while. It is a pity that, you know, I can't make some of these things work, but for now that'll have to do. It's the best we can do at the moment. There might actually be a way that I can scale the screen up in OBS. We could fool with that. If I do that in OBS, it'll remember what I said, and that might be cool. So long as we're doing this, let's sort of continue to fool with it and see what we get. I'm also going to fiddle with what I've got here, because one thing I can do is, hey, Dudecraft. So I'm trying to get it so that I can see what I'm doing and what chat is like, although it might be somewhat obscured by things I do. But let us also try this. Whipping out yet another mouse. I have like 3 mice, all to different computers here right now. And we're going to switch that over to here, because we have a possible thing to do. Scaling OBS around, then, yeah. setting this and adjusting the size of these things. Well, that was somewhat unhelpful. Maybe I can tell this to okay. So preview scaling, no, not scale to window. How about locking preview and then giving me a little space around that? No, that ain't working either. Canvas, yikes. Yikes. Okay. So basically what I'm going to want to do here is make the actual desktop of this. Tell you what, let us change desktop background to something that shows right through. And then I can try to scale the screen. That ain't scaling anything. All that's doing is expanding the size of what it is. So let's reset this transform. That's some very tiny print. And that's the normal size of what comes in on the laptop, because here's what's happening, okay? So if you're trying to set this kind of thing up, like this is the kind of madness you might get into. The way this is working, the way this whole thing is working, letting me get my chat text and stuff on the screen and compositing it is like this. So the chat is running on this little Mac Mini that I have stashed away in the desktop. It's an older one. It's one of the last Intel ones. It's not really worth very much, but it will run effectively enough to do this. And that has a screen size that is literally the same size as the A10 Mini, which is doing this stuff, meaning camera switching. And the cameras are Blackmagic A10, the cameras are Blackmagic Pocket Cinema, and they're like 4K. So they are producing like a 38x40 output. And if you get something in from another source and it's also a 3840p output, then, well, actually, no, that would be the other dimension, 28 something output, which would be this. You can't read it. I can't read it. We're basically sending the entire screen via HDMI to the A10 Mini, and it's compositing at the full camera ratio, which is why it's sort of nicely anti-aliased. It's a nice high-quality compositing. But I'm taking in the antique laptop, and this is actually the resolution that it's at, which is not true because the resolution that it's at is actually slightly smaller than that even. But then I need to scale it up to the size that fits into this. So and unfortunately, there's like, no, wait, there is a key attached to this. Let me see whether I can't. I can't. See, what I was just trying to do was get a hold of those control thingies, because right now it's scaling everything up and down, and I have no way of making the preview scaling be smaller. I can only do canvas, and canvas is like the full size output, or scale to window, but it's not letting me size it down and then resize the transform. So what we'll do is just try to ease it in. If I have this little control here, I might be able to resize it so it fills up the screen. Oh, go away, spammer. I don't blame anybody being a spammer for messing with me at this point, though. So what I'm going to do is try to size that to neatly fit the screen. And that now neatly fits everything on there. And I'm not going to quit OBS, but it should remember, OBS constantly tries to keep track of whatever you just did. So it has this tendency of sticking with whatever you had. And I will go back to this and go back to my black background. And now we don't have the menu bar. We also don't have a variety of other things lost off the top of the screen, but that is cleaner to look at, so there is that. And if I make this do that, then hey presto. Oh, and observe this change in, look at these mouse pointers, right? So this is the size of the mouse pointer in the antique laptop, right? And you can't see the size of the mouse pointer on the one I'm streaming with, but you can see the size of, check that out. Look at those mouse pointers, man. So this one is the old laptop. And this one is the way that I'm compositing in your text on a little tiny laptop that is 4K resolution, and it's being composited. So there you have it. That's a bit of change in resolution, wouldn't you say? Actually, you know what? I could probably even... Yeah, that's even more exaggerated. So check out the size of pointers here. Here is our old laptop and how I'm doing this stuff. Apologies for how it looks kind of terrible, but this is the best I can do. And this is the computer that I'm compositing stuff on. So we'll scooch that back, seeing as we got it to work. And now let's go to doing stuff with this, because it looks kind of sketchy, admit, but 20 minutes or so in, we're talking about actually doing something. Yay! And that's because of the technical difficulties, and sometimes that's just what you get, is a lot of technical difficulties. So, if we lost everybody through that, oh well, and I'm sorry, and whatever. I think maybe I will scooch these things down enough until we can see them. And clean up. And now we're making a fairly decent simulation of how we do this. And this might be good enough for code streaming. We'll see. Speaking of which, shall we try to make a stereo chorus? Because one of the things that was happening, the other day, and I see that my fire is going. I might need to throw another log on there at some point. One of the things that was happening is somebody wrote me a nice note saying, please can I have my old plugins back? I've been using Stereo Chorus and Stereo Doubler, but you don't seem to have them working on the M1. And yeah, that seems like a reasonable ask. Hang on, you know what? I'm going to move some of these things up out of the way and sort of tidy this up a little bit. For that matter, I can move some of this stuff out of the way too. And just kind of simplify it all. Because now that we are doing a live streaming of the coding streams where we have the same audio that we had before, but we have a much higher res video, and I could do more in the way of lighting. Something like a utility in Ableton. Okay, Ableton is a special problem, Shalparbin. Ableton is a special problem, and I'll tell you what that's about. The deal with Ableton is until they run an M1 Max, that becomes a big issue because their stuff is not working on M1 Max properly. It's running native plugins through emulation because they're in Rosetta. Now, as far as I know, I don't see why you couldn't use purest gain anyway, so maybe do that, but there's a lot of things I'm working through at the moment. I guess I would have to say I don't know what you mean. Like, make something like utility in Ableton by using purest gain. I would say, okay, use purest gain then if it works for you, because there's the thing. I don't know how that would be. What's different about using it as a utility versus using it as a plugin? If you need me to build it into Ableton, I can't. I don't have the access to the internals of Ableton to make that work. But yeah, just try to explain what you're talking about better, I guess, is what I would have to say there. You know what? Let me move the sounds folder off the screen too. There we go. And we'll play some nice music while I talk. Interestingly, I can see through this. Isn't that it? It's a transparent thingy. So what you're saying is reproduce what utility has. It has a gain control, it has a mid-side, it has a phase, and it has a width. Well, hang on. Let's see what we've got already. I know that one of the things I had was Hermie. What have we got for Hermie trim? Maybe you should be looking into this. It seems like a subtle trim. Yeah, I think this is trimming up and down by 1.5 dB. I think that's all that's going to let you do. So that's a thing. What else have we got? Let's look into, for instance, hey, Grubiel. Yeah, let's see if I had something called every trim. There we go. That one has more of a, I bet that's what Hermie trim was about, was he asked for more subtle radiation. There we go, so that's a bigger control. There's your mid. Here's your side. Yep. Grabule, you were absolutely right. So look into that one. Oh, and good morning, Aiden. And yeah, there's the thing. So Schallfarben, fool with that. I can't actually, phase is not something that I have control over right here without doing a phase rotator. And that would be something more like this. A phase rotator is going to be like phase nudge. I don't think I have, hang on. So that just kind of softens everything a lot. Although we can use the dry wet. Did I ever actually ship phase? What does that do? Let's see what we've got here. I bet if I look in VSTs it won't be there. P. Yep, there's phase nudge. So what the hell was phase anyhow? Was that a thing? Did that come out, or was that just something that I tried? Oh, that's in the middle of being worked on. What you can see here is that if it has this many controls on it, there's some problems in here. It's not actually working right. We're getting that funny buzzing. That's not supposed to be there. But this would be along the lines of phase nudge, only more so. It's a bunch of phase nudge stacked up, or maybe a larger one. And if you make it be 0.5 dry wet, yeah, that's why you don't have this, is it's doing this. And that's no good. So yeah, our problem here is that we have this unpleasant noise. And that's why you don't have this, is it didn't work. But we seem to have a speed control. No, this is depth. So we don't have this one because it's a pile of garbage and does not work. Very good sound design tool released it. Nope, that ain't a thing. It's basically just a cheesy phaser control that's smashing its buffers and not working properly. So, yeah. So, yep, look into every trim for the thing we were talking about. And as long as I'm plugging away on this, let's actually try to do something. For instance, I would like to port this over to a new form. So what I'm going to actually do is, let's take these and put them back in the library. And start a new one. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is literally what I had back in the day, and I'm probably going to want to start afresh with a more current one. And I'm going to specify with CocoaView because that's where I have my stereo stuff stashed away. Hang on a second, I would like to throw another log on my fire. Also, I'm hearing background noise. I can't tell whether it's outside or my furnace. Never you mind. We'll be fine. Alrighty, so there's another log on my fire. Shaw has another question. Put my laugh back on. Forgive me, my lungs are messing with me some of the time here. I wind up with stuff stuck in my throat. Choose and targets, that's fine. So I'll be trying to get these two things to be about the same. You can see one of the things that daunts me about programming is all of this stuff. And I know that it looks rather horrible on the screen, but this is the best I can do right now. It's actually not as good as the last time, but this time I have chat overlaid, so there's that. All this stuff generally just gets baffling. When I do get like working with GUI or whatever, one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm asking the folks on the Surge Synthesizer project to teach me how to use CMake instead of Xcode. And I'll be putting together, basically it'll be working like this, okay? Don't mind me trying to find where this went. Oh, I see where it went. It went there. Okay, so let's move these things around so that when I get a new thing made, like this stereo chorus here, it'll show up where I can find it. But what I'm going to be doing is opening stuff up in the Finder and working on these files in like a text editor, like this. Being able to edit this stuff basically as if you're just writing it. Versus needing to do it in something like this, where, we've got this early version of Xcode. As you can see, this is Xcode version 3.26. It's very proud of the fact that it's 64-bit because that's back in the day when that was a thing. It's like 2010. And this is how I build retro stuff. This is how I build stuff that works on older machines, because Apple doesn't let you do that anymore. They started getting that stuff more or less obliterated. So you can't target that kind of thing anymore. Let me see about here. We've got release and active architectures and stuff. See where it says active architecture is 8664 or i386 or PPC even? We're building a fat binary off of this that should date back to where you can run PowerPC machines, like really antique machines. That's one of the first things to go. The next thing to go was 386, and you weren't able to make 32-bit stuff. And if you were still running apps that were only able to communicate with 32-bit plugins, you were out of luck. And so it goes. Apple has a way of deprecating things, and I've been generally resisting that. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to take this stereo chorus and clone everything else out of what we had copied, because there's going to be some things that are different. And there's our version file. I'll get this stuff out of the way, although you can kind of see your chat there. It looks really dreadful on this gray text. We'll do the best we can, I guess. Some of this is definitely pretty weird. Let's see about trying to copy it over as best we can. It's covering up the screen in a really ugly way, but we're doing a live stream, so this is the best I can give you. And on the other side is my default template, such as it is, for starting this stuff up. Like, here's what we have in the original version, made in 2007, and this is in 2022. So we're jumping back forwards how many years? 17 would be 10 years, 27 would be 20 years, so 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 15 years. And some of the things on this one on the right are going to be different. So we could just edit this stuff manually, but we can also go pragma mark stereo chorus parameters and just all the way over here. And then boop. That is what we're going to want for cloning this thing exactly as it was. And I'm thinking in terms of doing that, there are a number of things here that people sometimes like a plugin even though it's coded very strangely because it's doing something that's useful for them. I'm going to tab some of those things. It doesn't really care about indentation, but and I'm going to close this. And you'll see that when I save this, all of those turn blue, showing that the compiler knows what it is. Am I reaching outside help for GUI or just going to code it myself? Oh goodness, I'm going to have to go for outside help in a big way. There's no question about that. Let me start getting this stuff copied over so that I can get some of these things out of the way. so that I can actually talk to you and you can see me on the screen. Until then, it's going to be just ugly and in the way. We'll be doing this a lot, so it's like I want it not to be too obnoxious. We're getting rid of the parameters we don't want. And these things can be just deleted. So not using those parameters. This is basically the same except for this 1 there. I think that's going to count as an integer. So I added a 0.0 to these, which is telling it to be something else. This part's still the same. This is the stereo part of it. And return 1, see how it says uint32? That is saying it's an integer, unsigned integer of 32 bits, and it returns an integer, so I'm giving it a 1. This doesn't have to be like a 1.0 or something. And we're going to make a few changes in this. We're copying this over just as it stands, but we're leaving the FPD L and R in here because that's the dithering. And I should think I can keep that. But a bunch of this other stuff, like I don't need to specify register. The compilers do that for you these days. This is this is from 2007, back when I was doing stuff like that. What that means is you're trying to hint to the compiler, oh, hey, you're going to be seeing this variable a lot. Put it in a register so that you can access it more easily. And modern compilers work completely differently from that. And lastly, we've got this stuff here. So we're going to copy some of these things and then change some of these things. For instance, that register stuff doesn't need to be there. And we're going to leave this the way that it was because the guy was looking for that particular magical stereo chorus. I wouldn't necessarily do this again the way that I'm doing it, but you know, I'm going to have it be the way that I'm doing it with maybe, I can see a change in here. We'll copy that over because this speed control, that's back when I was not actually coding for other sample rates. I was only able to run at like 44.1K. I don't think I was even on this laptop. Like this laptop was an upgrade from back when I first created this stuff. And this laptop runs 96K just fine. But when I started doing these, that wasn't even a thing. Just a moment, I'll be able to answer your thing when I get some of this stuff off the screen. You will also notice that I'm using float64 instead of double here, but this is a double precision variable. I don't need these registers. The compiler does that for you these days, so that has no use anymore. But I'm going to see whether I can't compile this just as it is and have it work. And one of the things we're going to do is I'm looking into making some of this stuff run faster by not having everything be long doubles. I talked about that in the previous plugin post. I believe the same thing will hold for overall scale, so let's do that too. And if we're defining them here, we don't need to define them here. This was also before I learned to define things where I was using them. So we're going to be doing some what you call refactoring in getting this stuff working. This is also before denormalization fixes. But check it out. This is what we've got here. That part's the same. And we're basically going to copy everything here and replace the stuff that's here. We're not using a dry, I don't think. So these things are not in the original, but we can have them just to sort of modernize it a little bit. And we're working, and I'll be able to see what you guys are saying in a moment. This is all covered up by my screen. Give me a second, I'll get there. It starts from assign working variables and goes down to we'll go from here. Copy that. At this point, we can close that. And I believe, there. So now I can see what you guys have been saying this entire time, at least a little bit. So, yeah, getting exact numbers from things is DAW dependent. So if the DAW doesn't let you do that, then the DAW doesn't let you do that. It's on the host, exactly. Define good audio quality, Charles, and then I'll answer that question. Logic will let you type variables into the AU format in a variety of programs. I'm super going to have to reach for outside help for GUI. You like the Eventide chorus? Cool. I don't have one, but yeah. And use of hypersonic. Should it be in font? Font? What do you mean font? I don't understand. In front, okay. Font means letter. As far as doing filtering to handle aliasing in a oversampled bus, which is what I'm talking about, I'm doing it that way rather than trying to oversample every little thing. Here's the thing. If you are generating a nonlinearity and that is producing an artifact which is aliased, that's because you have like, I wonder if I can demonstrate this in sounds. I think maybe high sign will get me what I want. It'll be really obnoxious to hear, but so let's do a little experiment with one of my plugins, some variation on DRes. So there's a high sign. And DRes is going to start lowering the sampling rate. It's going to do a sample and hold thing. And here we have aliasing. Also we can type this. See, that's aliasing. Now, if you're doing this kind of thing, if you filtered that note until it was no longer there, when you hit the aliasing, you wouldn't be getting the aliasing. Basically, when you're, let me see if I can do it in an effect stack. We'll add a DRes, and then we'll add span. Span is kind of transparent, so I can just see right through it. I have a fairly contrasty situation here. It's hurting the look of the screen, but whatever. So there we are. We've got that. We've got DRes. You can kind of see it. And then if you alias it, you get a completely different frequency. So that's actually the real aliasing frequency. We've got this pure sound, and then we've got a certain amount of trashiness because DRes is a little bit sloppier than this kind of stuff. It's bringing in issues. But having the DRes frequency reach this note is where we start getting real aliasing. And then we replace that with another note, and that's what aliasing really is. But if we had a filter going on, for instance, let's do a nice steep filter, like, what did I call it? Isolator. So now we've got isolator and we've got DRes. If we put isolator first, full on, we've got this, and then we can have, let's see where it is, down to about 0.2. That's cutting down the level of this. So this would be your filtering. Unfiltered, more filtered, or we can have it quite a lot filtered. And that's what you're doing. So if you do that ahead of the that's filtering in front of the artifact. That's filtering in front of the aliasing. That's basically how that works. And we can show that by running this. We can filter it right out. So that is why if you're trying to make a aliasing frequency go away, you filter before the clipping. Or you filter before, because basically what clipping is doing, I can demonstrate that too. Let's see. Let's make both of those things go away and bring in another effect, like say, I don't know, let's try channel. So the way this works as we start bringing in more saturation, we start producing more in the way of aliasing frequencies. Let's move this around a bit. And we're going to want to edit this again. Low range comes way up so we can see what it's doing. So if we are doing the distortion, you can see that there's a series of aliasing capable artifacts. Like if this note moves higher, it'll start reflecting off of this red line and becoming artifacts. Because we only have a little bit over 1K here, these harmonics are not actually producing aliasing at this time. Like we're running at, I think it's, I'm not quite sure what our sample rate is at the moment. It looks like we're running at 41K, and I'm willing to believe that. So that's our Nyquist limit. It's just a little ways over 20K. And so if we do our sine, and then we throw on a distortion, that is not automatically generating aliasing notes. Only if the sine is a sufficiently high frequency, it will try to generate exactly the same frequencies, but they'll be reflecting off of this Nyquist frequency and becoming alias. But if you filter it out, all of this is looking very strange on the meters. So I'm just trying to describe the basic concepts here. I think isolator, oh, I know what's going on. Isolator has some issues or some concerns. Let's make it go away and then do a straight biquad instead. We have to put this in front of span and in front of channel 9. This should still be like a regulation biquad, so this is puzzling me a little bit, but never mind that. We're distorting something. Let's go for something even simpler. Let's see whether one of Apple's filters are vanilla enough. You'll see that it generates some changes in the low frequency detail here, but we can set this to underneath the filter and increase the resonance so that it'll try to fall off faster. Although honestly, that's not really doing it. So let's just put it like well down where we know it's going to actually attenuate. It's doing a really poor job of attenuating, I gotta say. This low pass filter has a very bad roll off. I wonder if I can do something better with it. Yeah, my filters are rolling off a lot better than that. How about firing up Avra Matrix to try to roll that stuff off? Lots of polls. We're attenuating the note to some extent. It's just not showing up very much. It's showing up on the other meter more than this one. Point being, here is how this works. We're sending a sine into a distortion. And the distortion is producing artifacts. I don't think I have a literal hard clip handy. I wonder if Apple has one. I bet it doesn't. I bet you it doesn't. I wonder whether anybody else has a literal hard clip that is bad, is naive. I don't think so. And I'm not sure I have a literal hard clip. All of my clips are more sophisticated than that. Let's look into clip 2. Basically, I'm trying to contrast this with the soft clip. There we go. So here's what happens. If you have a soft clip, you're going to generate a few harmonics, but they're not going to go out forever. It is only generating a certain number of harmonics, so lower frequencies will not actually be giving you aliasing. Only higher frequency will be giving you aliasing. And then if you filter them, you'll be filtering the aliasing stuff as well. Like as the frequency gets higher and gets attenuated, the harmonics it generates, which could come into aliasing, are also being attenuated. And then you can also add another instance to attenuate even more. After, if you're doing multiple stages of clipping, like for instance, let's add another channel 9. This poor laptop's going to get upset with me for doing all this. And in both of these channel 9s, we're just distorting all the way. We've got this stack of things. And this can generate harmonics. And then if we have another stage of it, that can generate even more harmonics. But if you're filtering and cutting off the stuff way up here, that's going to attenuate the harmonics going into it. And if you filtered after, you can start to hear maybe a little bit of low frequency stuff going on in there, because that's not actually suppressing aliased frequencies, but is turning down the stuff that is above the filter. To suppress aliased frequencies, you have to filter above the point that's going to be aliasing, and of course, if you're doing a hard clip, then the aliasing frequencies will go out forever. But guess what? If you're filtering out that initial harmonic enough, then you can stop it from hitting the hard clip. So our soft clip we can basically see where we're getting aliasing. If we double it up, we can get even more. Filter that, and we're taking down the aliasing frequencies, and then filtering between more stages. You just keep suppressing them. This is what I'm doing with that aliasing stuff. So now let's see what people have been talking about back when I couldn't see you. And we're probably going to have to stop streaming at some point because this is a thing. But yeah, so Shaw Farbin says, it's nice to know somewhen. I have no idea what you mean. Could all this also be done in C++? It's being done in C++. Purist Gain was released in AU. Front, yes. HS. And yeah, we've just been through a whole aliasing thing to my limited ability of making it work. Code a linear system rather than nonlinear. Yeah, this is why the laughy face is because a lot of what we like out of analog sounding things is when they have those nonlinearities. Like, we like the sound of clipping. We like the sound of soft saturation. That's kind of what some of the console and real analog stuff works like. I can't tell you as far as the filters being linear. These are not linear phase filters. These are biquad filters. So they're not, there's no pre-ring on them. They are more similar to what you get out of analog filters. There aren't any linear phase filters in nature. Hypersonic, which I just released, is also not linear phase, but it crosses over higher, and it has more stages of filtering, meaning that it's steeper. And so that should give you up through 20K clearly, more clearly. You don't set ultrasonic or hypersonic. It's just a controlless filter that's just there and does it. As far as antiderivative aliasing nonlinear systems, that's like Surge Synthesizer has some of that stuff. It's oscillators. It has some modern oscillators and things that are using that kind of technology. And to some extent, you're getting less harmonics with use of the filter. And yeah, this is one of the reasons I'm going back to the Monday coding streams, is because I do need to try to explain things for folks, and I'll do my best with that. Let's lock into a code mode, engage code red, and into stereo chorus. Let's see if I can build it in such a way that it works. I'll hide my face, I'll hide my shame with the code, and let's see what we've got here. I think maybe I didn't copy from the previous one yet, so let's go and address that now. Stereo chorus from the library. And we'll copy that. I'm not quite sure how that worked, but okay. Okay, you just didn't do the thing that I wanted, and that's fine. And I'll be wanting to paste it in here. Kind of like this. So my hope is that I can get this to build, and then we'll go from there. we've got our denormalization stuff here. We've got input sample. This is a air filter. In fact, this entire stereo chorus might run inside a undersampling routine. Because this is limited, I can't scale this up with higher sample rates. It'll be just what it is. But we'll hear what that is now, and that's if I can get it to build, anywho. And check it out. We've got a couple of other things in here. A bunch of other things in here. And these can go and live where they belong. We can have these instantiated where they're actually being used. That's something I learned from my brother, the corporate professional coder. So we can instantiate those there. And then where have we got offset? We've got offset also being defined up here. It is a float 64 that counts as double. So what I can do is go. See, the reason you do stuff like that is so that you have an idea what the scope of things are. And you're defining this here and then using it in the place that you're using it. We don't have to define it twice. We've defined it here and then we're using it over again. We're using both of these things. We've got two different chorus effects. Well, we'll see what this does once we compile it and make it work. Like, they seem to be running in parallel, and that seems really weird. I guess what I've got is two different sweep speeds, two different sweep positions. Yeah, so there's a number of things going on here. One of them is that my delay buffer is like integers. So I'm doing something funny there. We're taking input sample L and multiplying it by this to bring it up into like 24-bit linear and then doing our processing there. Yeah, the chat, I'm kind of stuck with the chat the way it is at the moment, I'm afraid. We'll see what we can do with this as we go. There are many changes. You can't see the chat properly because I have this in the way, and the chat is also in the way. But we'll see what we can do. I mean, the look of this screen is worse now than it was before because I originally had this patched straight into the ATEM, and now it's going into the laptop. Otherwise, I can't show the chat. And I've been showing the chat on the music streams, and so I kind of need to do that. Let's see what we've got here. Let's start replacing some of these float 64s with double. That's really what float 64 should be, so it makes it quicker to port over to VST and stuff where we're not actually using that kind of language. And temp being a integer style value. And I think SN32 I can simply use UN32 means it goes beyond, and so we can use, we're going to want to use that for unsample frames because that's what Apple wants that to do. Jazz said it's not about being an Apple user, it's about the fact that this is a relentlessly complicated streaming system, which is meant to overlay stuff and then composite it in an ATEM mini and so on. And there's only so much I can do with it. And the reason that this looks like butt is because it's not even HD. This laptop can't actually do HD. It can't do 180p. It can only do 1440 by 900. That's the biggest screen I've got on here. So the way of sending it to the Mac Mini for compositing is I have to have it resampled to 1080i, which means it's being scaled up rather ugly, and I'm basically stuck with it. Oh, redefining the float 864? Well, fair enough. And since this is signed int 32s, that's what int should be. So let's just call all of these things int. It should still work. But this is still part of what I was doing in this old code. This old code was running a fixed point bus. Much like how I have been running at least a double precision bus, and in recent years I do a long double bus. This old program, this old plugin, was using entirely a fixed point bus, but it's using a 24-bit fixed point bus, and that's how it's doing its calculations. So it's like, I got to keep that the way that it was for the person who had this and was like, this is the magical sound for me. Please make this be a moderner plugin. I can do that, but I got to keep the weird choices that I made back in the day. This is not as clean as the stuff that I do now, but it'll have the same tone as what I do now. And all this stuff that I'm leaving, let's see now, I've got input sample R and input sample L. So we're going to take this output and simply go back to input sample. And now that we've done that, the floating point dither is relevant. And so that is still there. And there's our output. And this should build and run, although I'm betting it's not going to build the first time. It never does. Yep, see, there we go. All these references to float64, it's like, yeah, you have to compile the AU stuff in the public utility to even be able to compile it all. We'll save. We'll get that out of the way. I can now be seen. Hey. And we'll build again. And this time it's happy with it. And so, go into the build folder. I'm going to option drag it so that I can copy things around. And then I'm going to close this and go to my Airwindows folder. This is what gets backed up to GitHub. And let's put this in the Mac AU folder. And in theory, we should have a working plugin. Let us now run Twisted Wave and try it. Yeah, see, using Juice is something I'm going to need to learn. that's my plan for this year. Oh, hey, everybody always misses alien kittens. And you're not going to get stereo because everything's coming off of my lavalier mic, but we'll see whether this opens up. And here we are. Seems to work. I bet speed goes down to 0. No, not quite. And there is my stereo chorus. Oh yeah, that's making some really weird stereo effects. Things are getting really strangely separated there. Let's load up something else. Maybe add a sounds here. Here's a sawtooth wave. That's super annoying. With a little fade in there. That's also a naive sawtooth wave, so the way it was generated is not band limited. You can hear kind of the crunchiness on it. If I was running some of my other stuff, I'd be able to bring in an analog source, but I'm not, so. Effects. Stereo chorus. And you're not going to be able to hear this, but I will. Yeah, so this is going to create some strange effects, but did I visit BC? In fact, I was in BC. So this is what people want out of this. It's the difference between that and this. So there's stereo chorus. So I need to put a copy of this out. Just while I'm at it, I think what I'd like to do is, let me have a look at the, okay, I'm in loop sessions, no, meltdown. Oh, I know, heavy dist FLAC. That's going to be something. And that's going to be the sampler stuff. And let's throw stereo chorus on that. So if I chorus this, yeah, I can't hear that all that well. Meh. Mazda, amazing sound. How about this? Let's throw this into the stereo chorus. It should repeat itself as it goes. And that's very mono. So Mazda 787B. But if I have that in a stereo chorus with lots of depth, yeah, that does sound very stereoized. Okay, so I am satisfied. I believe that I can put out stereo chorus and stereo doubler and stereo ensemble. Actually, let's play with stereo ensemble. I was wondering whether that's worth doing. Let's see what it does to assign. Oh, or I could see what it does to alien kittens. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Let's see what it does to alien kittens. Oh, but wait, no, I can't, can I? Sorry. Oh, no, I guess I can, can't I? I have the original versions of the plugins in here. I just haven't got the remade ones of them in there. I was not in Vancouver, no. I think stereo doubler is based off a glitch shifter. I think this is a variation on glitch shifter. So here's dry. And we've definitely got a bunch of flamming going on in here. Wet is definitely really wide. Yeah, that ain't bad. That ain't bad. We could use that. Missing out to not have that. And then lastly, stereo ensemble. What did I have going on there? Depth and effect level. That's probably dry wet. Okay, this is just something a little weird. Depth is sort of the width of it. This is not actually a very wide effect. Okay, so what stereo ensemble is basically a batch of weird echoes that are scattered around the stereo field. That's basically what that's doing. So yay for it, I guess. Oh, I can test that. Check this out. Note silence and snare silence will show me what stereo ensemble is doing. Like if we have stereo doubler, we can set that to detune quite a lot. And since it's a variation on glitch shifter, what's going to happen here is you have a sort of scattered effect. And that's tighter. Sometimes it's more of a flam. And it's doing that zero crossing thing. But by contrast, we can use snare silence to demonstrate stereo ensemble, and that's going to be a whole other story. That is literally just a quick succession of echoes going. That's all stereo ensemble does. And effects level, you can have less of it. And depth tightens it up a bit. That's fairly quick. More depth is more scattered out. And the whole thing is going to be limited, much like stereo chorus is, to running at 44.1K. So to properly do a new version of this, I need to bring in the undersampling stuff so that at higher sample rates, it'll still function. That's doable though. So yeah, that's a start. I do need to do the upgrade on stereo chorus. Although, well, I need to do the upgrade on stereo chorus, but I also need to make sure that it's exactly the way that it was when run at 44.1K. That's pretty key. So it's going to need to do the undersampling for things like higher sample rates, 2x or 4x. But it needs to be exactly the way that it was if run at the original rate. And I believe I can do that. Yeah, and Jas, where was I? I was visiting my lady. I don't give that information out to all the internet necessarily. It's like, no, get your own. Why does the shittiest pitch shifting sounds better when blended with OG signal rather than having a pristine pitch shifting algorithm? That depends. You mean a pristine pitch shifting algorithm blended with OG signal? Because sometimes when you have a garbage pitch shifting algorithm, there is a certain degree of rawness and aliveness to it, whereas you start overprocessing stuff and the thing that you've made could be pristine in some ways, but it could also be very plastic in other ways. Like you'll end up with here. I can do a demonstration of this using Alien Kittens, and one of the plugins that I have back in this that I don't think made it to newer things. Audio units and Dirac effects versus like other things. So you heard some of my pitch shifting stuff, and it's shittier pitch shifting. This is more sophisticated pitch shifting. So bypass is here. But the problem we run into It's sophisticated, but this is also sounding kind of plastic. And that's because it's analyzing stuff like mad and then kind of reconstructing it, but there's this MP3-ish quality. You can hear the aggressiveness of the drums. And then the drums, by contrast, sound really plastic. In particular, listen to the snare. It's reconstructing. It's like figuring out how to make these things in a more voice-like way. But that's losing the whole impact of the snare. And there's this kind of MP3-ish quality, and that's going to apply to stuff like vocal noises, like T's and P's and things, as well as to drums. Everything will become affected by that, whereas if you got something really bad like glitch shifter, which I should have here, GH, there we are. Let's use glitch shifter to shift up instead. And we're definitely losing the stereo effect here. But if we compare this to what the Dirac effect, which is more sophisticated, we have more of a scaled up sound. I wish I had this in mono. I wonder if I can run it in mono. Let's find out. Let's see if we can do an effect stack and have Dirac effects and glitch shifter both there. Dirac is instantiating. Glitch shifter is instantiating. So this should demonstrate what you were talking about. Here we got some alien kittens. Here's Dirac. So here's our variation between shittiest pitch shifter and pristine pitch shifting algorithm. This is what Jazz is talking about, and this is a fine way, I think, to end the stream, is I'll just demonstrate this. The sophisticated one is doing a much more interesting job of analyzing what's happening and reconstructing, but it's losing impact on that snare. Glitch shifter is a shittier version. And in fact, it's glitching, it's losing track of where it is. But that snare has more impact. So the pitch shift is always going to disrupt things to some extent. Let's put this all the way to zero tightness to maximize this. So what this does is Dirac effects. I should make a note of that, by the way. Here, give me a second. Jess lives in Kelowna. Find out where that is. I'll do that thing of the lady that's known for being a big Patreon booster and so on, and she does road trips and just stays at fans' houses. So we'll see about that. I'll talk to you about that if it turns out that Kelowna is on the way to anywhere. Anyways, effect stack. And Dirac versus glitch shifter. If we use Dirac, it is going to keep the tempo the same and change the pitch. Glitch shifter doesn't do that. Glitch shifter is just retiming the speed of essentially the tape that you're on and skipping. So what that means is that is a more directly speeded up version of it. And so it's going to dislocate the groove. It's not going to have the same time sense. This is the same time sense. It's just repitched. Glitch shifter is going to be cleaner and rawer and sound better, but it's not going to have the same time sense because it's not attempting to stay as locked on to what's going through. See, it's in a completely different time sense. And that's why if we put it to dry wet, we hear both of them at the same time. It becomes very chaotic. And it comes into sync and goes out of sync. That's why it's punchier, is it's not reprocessing things nearly as much. And of course we can add feedback and make it go completely crazy. Because this is glitch shifter. Interesting, we can't stop, can we? How odd. What's going on there? Oh, do you want to save the changes? Oh goodness, no, I don't. Alrighty. I think that's about enough for today. But hey, we got a start on stereo chorus. I am going to need to continue that onwards and add the undersampling in there, because I feel like, you know, that person is right. That's a legit effect. I should have those, but all of them are going to need the undersampling. None of them are going to work correctly on like 96 or 192K. So there you have it. That's going to be a little more work. Maybe we can resume with that next week if anybody's interested, because I've got a variety of other things coming along, as you can see. Here's a plugin called Edge. Here's a plugin called Dirt. These are distortions that are using hypersonics filtering techniques. And actually, here's something that I was thinking about doing now that I'm not running this. Oh, look, Real Basic 2006. That's something I used to use. Utilities, not disk utility, but our audio MIDI thing, if I have it. Maybe I moved it up here. Maybe I moved it to music. Oh yeah, I must have moved it to music. Okay. There's old Amadeus. There's a bunch of old programs here. And we are, in fact, running built-in output at 96K. Although for some reason we don't have a control on it there, but that's fine. Yep, no, that seems good. That seems such. Actually, I can check and no. My digital output is sitting at 44.1K at the moment. Let me go and check something while I'm running this new rig and figuring out how to make that happen. Let's run an Alien Kittens and see what it does to the setting. Oh, okay, it switched to 96K just fine. I think what's happening is when I'm not getting an optical input, it's reverting to 44.1K, or something that I was doing had it doing that. Anywho, we'll use this as the new setup for Monday coding days. I apologize that it doesn't look as nice, but there will be other coding days. For instance, when I get on to, I don't know, like, hang on. If I was doing work on this, which is the M1, it is very likely that I would be able to run its HDMI into that and not have it be an ugly blurry mess. My problem here is that I can only run the laptop into HDMI at a HD style like this here. This is all it's going to give me. I'm mirroring it and running into that input. And so what I'm seeing on the screen is actually fine. But unfortunately, the input is not giving me a 1440 by 900. Although I could tell you what, as long as I'm fooling with this. Oh, we killed it. It died. So Macro Silicon is now saying that it's 720p. Let's see if we can change that and make it so that it actually doesn't look like ass, all right? Might as well. Yeah, this poor video capture thing is heating up like a bomb. It is no liking it, and I think I know why. Let's edit what I'm calling old laptop feed and tell it you're not at that anymore. You're at 720p. Oh, it didn't like that much, did it? Well, that should be 1280 by 720. It looks a little cruddy, but let's see if our rebouncing this does any good. Okay, try again, honey, this time this way. Can you do it? I'm sort of constantly restarting the laptop. Oh, hello. Are you gonna? Yay. Okay, so that's the thing. It's like unplugging and replugging this thing constantly. So let's see. Transform, reset transform. So if I go to full screen, guess what? This is now the size of the laptop. And if I open up Xcode, open so this is what we had, and it's an even tinier window, but it might be more legible than the previous time. Oh, this is terrible. This is such a cluster. Let's see if we can have it be more legible by having it be exactly double the size. This is our time to experiment. So here's my tiny, here's preview scaling. If I scale this transform exactly twice, firstly we can reset it. There it goes. And then if I edit this and exactly double it, I might have nice clean text. That would be cool. And it should remember what I did as well. And then I'll just have to remember to have this running on 720p. We'll do it next week. We'll see where we get. And my brain's too fried after all of that to do basic math, and so, well, semi-basic math. So what I'm going to do is 1280 times 2 is 2560. Oh, hey, interesting. And 1440. That is now a neatly double size one. Oh, hi, you just disappeared, didn't you? Positional alignment. Positional alignment means that 0, point can be top left or top right, so I just made it go off the screen. It's not capable of doing what I had in mind, but it is capable of doing some things. So what we got here is we can scooch this up to this corner. It'll hide my face, but oh well. And then take the overall full screen projector and boop. Alrighty. And moving this back. This is a glorious and spectacular cluster, but how's that look? Now I wonder whether I can have it be exactly 3 times the size and whether that's going to be useful in any kind of way, because it looks kind of close. It looks kind of close, and doing an exactly 3x scale up would work. Shall we give that a try? Biquads don't create feedback. LED and VST sync, which switch colors. Well, I can't do that without GUI, man, so can't do that. Not yet. Back to this, and back to taking these numbers and then punching them into this. Oh, I've got the wrong mouse. This is a weird experience, but all the same, it's like, well, if it gets better, then that's worth something. Edit transform. So 1280 times 3. Interesting. Maybe we are getting to exactly the right scale. It's like exactly a third scale or something. And then 720 to 160. I don't believe it, but I think maybe that's even true. To 160. Guys, this is an interesting discovery. It's exactly the right scale. It's exactly 3x. That's very interesting. So here. So we're going to have the menu bar in there, but I guess that's okay. It has to do with what we're doing. Now, full screen projector. Boom. There we go. How's that grab you? Can you read my text now? I'm sorry I didn't think to do this earlier. That amazes me that it is 4K is exactly 3x this old laptop screen. Or laptop screen when it's scaled down a bit. And running it, there we go. And then if we do start editing this, it looks a little grotty, but not all that much, really. It's kind of big text, but you sure as hell will be able to read stuff. And if I scooch the edges of it over, we'll leave space for chat. And if I minimize it, you can see me. Although I seem to have minimized it so well that, yeah, and here's some other stuff that I have in here, which I don't necessarily need to have there. Oh, there's my audio MIDI setup. I never ended up using this. This is Coco, Osmond Coco. It's a PCB design tool. But yeah, I do think that is better. That is significantly better. Also means that I can rearrange some of this stuff because I'm no longer hiding stuff off the top of the screen. And you can see the things that I have, like edge and dirt, that are due to come out. I think I can even rearrange some of this stuff just to sort of be ready for next time. And there we go. Well, that's why I'm using, like, my regular lighting looks like this. So the reason I have the moody lighting for this is because it's going to be easier to see the text over that. So if I go to like DOS bolt lightning, then it's definitely easier to see the text, and the text is coming across nicely anti-aliased and everything. And yeah, it looks a lot cleaner. Like if I even do basic macOS things here, it's a little extra contrasty because this is the way that I'm compositing the other stuff using black as a luma key. So it makes it look a little funky. It makes it look more contrasty than it really is, but that's fairly subtle. And beyond that, we can now see what is written on the screen. I would call that a reasonable win. I wonder whether maybe I can, because the anti-aliasing isn't helping anybody. Let's not use font smoothing. I'm not sure if it's actually going to be redrawing that. That looks roughly like what I'm seeing. It's complicated by the fact that the black text there is going to be chroma keying or luma keying. But yeah, there we have it. So folks who wanted a live stream of coding, we'll see what we can do. I need to throw another log on my fire. It's gone out after fooling around with this so long. But yeah, my hopes is I can do this. I'm going to continue to do the music streaming. If I had a better way of getting this laptop into the compositing computer, I would, but I don't, so I can't. That's kind of the way it's going to have to be. But I'm pleased to discover that I'm exactly one. I mean, it's a third the scale, so that makes it like 1/9 the pixels of the full big screen kind of thing. But that is a convenient size because it means that when I do stuff here, it's at least crisp. I wouldn't call it good per se. It's a little too contrasty. It's a little too crappy. And my sizes here are, yeah, I can't do the full resolution on the screen, so that makes things a little more cramped. But on the other hand, it's readable. And you can see what everything says, even though it's not really slick. And then chat is being rendered at 4K. So chat composites with the video stuff just fine. And yeah, we do the best we can. We are doing what we can. Like I've said before, one of the things that I'm looking to do is incorporate some other stuff. So I haven't decided. If anybody has suggestions on what would be a good day for this, then I'm interested to hear it. I've been doing a lot of music streaming. Rosemary, my lady, is actually saying, be careful to commit to too many of these things like coding streams if it's going to stop you being able to do music, because there was a long time that I was kind of blocked and wasn't able to do music, so it's nice that I can. But in the service of being able to do music towards being able to take it on the road and do stuff, I'm going to be needing to do some live streaming on the M1 and be running like Bespoke and OBS and so on and so forth all on that machine. So one thing I might want to be doing there is learning how to also do my music streaming in like Bespoke and all in the box. Because what I really like is my hardware stuff, and I build those kinds of things. I'm going to be seeing whether I can't get into building stomp boxes, and that'll be very exciting too. But when I can't have all of that, or for people who can't have all of that, I would like to also be doing creative music generating entirely in the box, using my plugins, using Bespoke, using stuff like Surge Synthesizer. And one thing I could do towards that effect is work a little bit on trying out sound design in, say, Surge Synthesizer or Bespoke, or very, well, not specifically Bespoke, but like Dexid, for instance. Like if I take this machine and switch over to Bespoke, I've got this instead of my camera feed, and the everything kind of goes away there. But then if I launch something like Dexid, all of a sudden we've got something where if I'm streaming that, you can do all manner of stuff, and I can sort of fool around with the audio and things I'm doing there and have people be able to watch that. I do think sound design is a neat topic. My challenge there is that what I'm using right here, all of a sudden I now don't have the chat, I don't have any of the cameras, none of it is set up to really work with that. So my Bespoke streaming is based on having a black background that I can Luma key through. And if I don't have that going on, then nothing shows up. Likewise with, oh, well, there's Bespoke again. So now I can be seen, presumably. But if I quit out of there, there you go. We're back to the background screen. And if I, for instance, run Surge, I can play notes on it, but you can't hear them because it's not patched through. And I don't have a camera or any of that kind of stuff. So these are all things that I'm going to need to work on. I'm going to need to bring them in much the way that I bring the laptop in. Oh, I just quit out of the wrong place there. Hang on. I know what I'm doing, kinda. There's a problem with having three separate computers to do all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, thanks, TH Wath. I would like to think I have a soothing voice. That comes in handy from time to time. But yeah, like I said, I mean, one of the things I'm going to be doing is, as far as doing live streaming, this is my lavalier mic. That's what you're currently listening to, is a Sennheiser lavalier mic that plugs into Phantom Power. And one of the things I've done, and I'll be able to like review this for people who are interested in how it works. Bear with me for a second here. The remote system is going to be running off of one of these. This is a Motu M4. Motu makes little tiny stuff that runs off of, as we can see here, a USB-C, which is what the new Mac stuff runs on. So this is more appropriate to that purpose than the rack-mountable Motu 16A that I'm using for the analog stuff. This will give you MIDI in and out, so I can run hardware synths that I bring along. And it's got two inputs that can be mic or line in. So you can plug a guitar into one, I could plug the lav into this. And it will do 48 volt phantom power, so it'll power the circuitry for the lav. And then on top of that, these two inputs that can be separately controlled in that way. It's got a decent headphone mic that's probably better than it may or may not be better than the Apple. I'll have to try that out. And then we've also got inputs 3 and 4. The Motu M2 only has the two inputs on the front. The M4 gives you an additional couple of line inputs, which if you're running synthesizers, that means you can have like three different analog voices in your lavalier mic. And that means 3 different hardware synths or something like that to fool with and combine with Bespoke. Now recently what I've been doing is trying to get Bespoke to work on a system where it sends MIDI clock out, and then I clock the hardware synthesizer using that. I tried this, but I wasn't happy with how it worked out. It was able to send the MIDI clock out, and that is something that you can do, but it really wasn't well enough controlled. You don't necessarily want to have like a Bespoke-based system and then run something else that has its own brain for composing in, which is what that is. That's got the NerdSeek in there, so I'm basically composing stuff in this tracker-style interface. And I'm quite happy with how that's working out, but I can't combine it with Bespoke. But with this, when I have the laptop doing stuff, that means that, and they're not I'm not nearly big enough for anything like this to sponsor me. I'm just trying to find stuff that works and stuff that I can package. I can pack it into a suitcase and then be able to be in Canada and still be able to make creative music. With something like this, you have Bespoke, which I like to use for this stuff, or it could be, I don't know, Logic or whatever. Logic is very good with MIDI. You can send actual MIDI out to synthesizers in this way. I've got a MIDI splitter that I can direct it to 4 different synths, and that'll be satisfactory. And you're driving them, rather than driving an external sequencer that is using MIDI clock. For this purpose, what I would be doing is running Bespoke and then having Bespoke send the notes to the synths and things, and also be triggering its own drum players and so on, at which point it would be this kind of hybrid thing. Well, yeah, it would be a hybrid thing, because some of the audio would be coming from just internal Bespoke stuff that I'd patch together however I needed to patch together. And then you'd also be able to run like MIDI out, and some of this stuff would be run, and it would also save you from having to do too many soft syncs. You get to save a little bit of CPU if some of your stuff is analog. It also occurs to me that, here, this is really going to be a stretch, hang on. Can I reach you? Yes, I can. I can also reach you, so that might be good. Coming back, just a moment. I'm basically telling you all the things I hope to be doing on the road, including my wilder ideas, because I might as well finish off the stream by just a bunch of serious blue skying. Actually, light. So, this is what I'm trying to use on the road. I've got this. I haven't done that much with it, but the purpose of this is not to replace what I'm doing in my main studio with the 10A, the 16A with all the inputs. This is a mini version that's supposed to be portable, and I can power it off of its USB-C. And it has a place where I could put the mic. It is not going to be as good as my real preamplifier, but it's got a place that you can put the mic. And it's actually pretty good converters. And I could do a guitar input. That might motivate me to, not that I'll have, you can't really fly with guitars, honestly, but if I got a hold of one, that would be a motivation for working with soft synth guitar type stuff. I would not be able to do a light show on location. The visuals might very well be no Chris visible at all, or it might be me with this particular Razer webcam that I've got. And the purpose of this is to be able to both monitor stuff off of the headphone outputs, have the mic coming in to bespoke, and that's largely the way that I do the plugin videos, is having the mic coming into bespoke and doing it there. And then having synthesizers, and here's one of the synthesizers I hope to bring along. It's a Make Noise Ocoast. As you can see, this is not a large device. I could pack this between layers of clothes in a suitcase, and it would probably be just fine. This is small, but it's a rich and interesting analog synth with a bunch of stuff that you can do, and I'm very happy with the sounds that it makes. So I'd like to have this on the road. If I had like two of these, because I do have two of these, and packed them both in a suitcase sort of end to end, I'd have a pretty darn sophisticated, like, I don't know, space ambient or whatever. And then lastly, I have these. Here's the thing. This is what is called a axolotl. It is a sort of experimenter board. And what it does is you can patch it in using USB to something, or you can control it using MIDI, such as I'll have a MIDI output that I can split out to things. And then as long as you can power this, it'll be fine. You can also give it external power, I believe, in some way or other. This is just a way of powering it and a way of programming it. And it's got this little SD card, so you can figure out various things to do with it. This is a stereo in, this is a stereo in, and this is a stereo out. See, it says in and out. And you can program this like a synthesizer and teach it to make different kinds of sounds. But here's the deal. That's nothing that you couldn't do in the box. Anything that I can do like directly from here is all the same as what you'd be able to do in the laptop or in Bespoke directly. But here's the thing. This is an analog output, and this has voltage available if it's powered up and running. So if you took one of these and then built an analog distortion box on the output of it, that would be a completely aliasing free, like synth fattener kind of thing. So I was thinking of this axolotl as basically maybe a resource for making a synth bass, something that I could use that would be like an FM synth, your analog kind of stuff. And well, FM synth is far from analog kind of stuff. It would be the kind of thing where you could invent a sound, like some kind of bass sound, have it be manipulated by all kinds of MIDI parameters, because you can tell this to receive anything that you wanted MIDI-wise, and map all of these various controls to different things on the parameters, and then it would become very controllable indeed. Because you're basically, the thing with an axolotl is you're basically building it up from oscillators. It's like a tiny modular system. I wonder if I'm not sure if I have a convenient way of demonstrating that right here and right now. On the other hand, I do have... Let's see, can I plug you in? There we go. A spare USB connection on the old laptop. Let's take a moment and see whether we can plug this in. I plugged it in and now it's lit up. I'm not going to be able to hear what it's doing, but do I have Axolotl on applications here? That looks like a nope, unless it's in music. That looks like a nope in music. Well, that makes me sad. I was hoping that I would be able to demonstrate this. Let me unplug it. And then let me plug it into, I think it's in the main computer. It does this little blinky light thing. Let me show you. Unplug you. And if I plug it back in again, and off it goes. Channel 9 and Console 7 oversampling are not built in. None of those have oversampling. And let me see, do I have Axolotl on this machine? Axolotl runtime, platform OS X. Huh. I've got something that looks like it's part of Axolotl, but it doesn't seem to be showing up very well. As long as I'm derping around with this, I'm just taking forever to tinker around with things. So let's just go the full Monty and see what we can make happen. You can't see this, but I'm going to... I can actually Google search for Axolotl synth, and that's now given me this. And Axolotl Patcher is the thing I'm going to want to download. So let's see whether I can do that now. That's a reference to it, but it's not showing me where I can download it. How about in getting started? Skip over to Mac OS X. Catalina is not supported. I need the application bundle and Axolotl runtime. I don't think we need Axolotl version 2, although that's been out since 2019. And let's just grab this while we go. I will also grab the runtime just in case that comes in handy. So yeah, right now, and I'm wondering whether it's actually worth trying to do that here, but I'd have to like turn airport on. Fire up my antique Google Chrome. It will no longer receive updates because 10.6, 10.7, and 10.8 are no longer supported. Not even Google can keep stuff running as far back as I can. But all the same, I should be able to get to the same place here. And then we'll find out whether, this is the thing I was telling you about, I'm going to see whether this can, and if Catalina is not supported, I'm not sure whether my current, I'm on Mojave in the main computer. And I'm going to want these. And I don't think I have Axolotl or Axolotl Core here or in my little music folder. But I do have this, so let's grab these things. And with a bit of luck, that'll work. And I've now downloaded these things. Oh, you've got a question. Oh, no, that is a question. Is C a prerequisite to C++? Do I need to learn C, then move to C++? Well, you don't necessarily want to use C++ for all that much. C++ is a bit of a mess, and I don't consider that to be the most useful thing, really. Oh, general public license. So we're going to see whether I can run the Axolotl runtime on this main computer. Open this in Finder and copy that over. And now that I've done that thing, it can't be opened because it's from an unidentified developer. But I can open it anywho, if in fact it will open. Which is a fair question. And here's what I was talking about. Here is Axolotl. The board is enabled. And I've even got saved stuff. Oh, it's not happy. File not found, that's because I don't apparently have that there. Let's see what else we have, if anything. Yeah, I think, oh no, that's in Airwindows streams, no wonder it's gone. What about documents? Nope, that's not there either. Okay, how about library, factory, demos, aliasing? Aha! So this is the kind of stuff that you'd be doing, although with less of the weird special effects here. This is now running on the Axolotl. I have no way of showing you what it does, but it is in fact running on the Axolotl. Get some of this stuff out of the way, or better still, we'll just use this as a chroma key background. And there. Wath got a dash. Okay, catch you on the replay. On the replay. So these are the kinds of things that you can do with the Axolotl. Ooh, library, home. I wonder if anything's here. Let's find out. Ah, see, I'd been doing stuff like this in Axolotl, and it apparently still runs. So this is what I was doing with these little devices. Back in the day, years ago, that's what I had going on. Meanwhile, I've got this other thing going, and I can quit Chrome out of here. And I can see whether this launches properly. Oh, no, it does not. Okay, so that's a bit of a moot point. You can't use this version of the application Axolotl with this version of Mac OS X. You have Mac OS X 10.6.8. The application requires 10.7.4 or later. So we cannot run this on the little old antique laptop. Good to know. That's fine. But we are, in fact, running it on the bigger machine. So yeah, this is a live thing, and it's probably generating audio right now. You can run MIDI into it. The outputs, the second one along here, will produce any manner of like filter output or whatever. I wonder if I can patch this into something that makes a sound. As long as I'm here, what could I possibly use? I really couldn't tell you. Does it have a head? I think it has a headphone output. I could get real creative and I have earbuds. If I hold the earbuds up to the lav mic, I bet you could hear them. My problem here is that now I don't have a MIDI synthesizer to generate sounds, but maybe I can just run stuff that's just generating an audio output. So this would be my headphone out. I'm not going to hold them up to my ear because it might get kind of loud. But if I do, and yeah, I can't see it. Or no, I actually can see you. I have to look at the extra screen. Secret trick for streamers is have another screen to show your chat on. That's a classic old method. And library, factory, community, tutorials, demos. What do we got as a synth demo? This is apparently saw mono. So, can I make it do anything? It's looking for a MIDI in. So yeah, this is an Axolotl. You can get these for relatively cheaply. This is not the most inaccessible thing. And this is a way to look for additional things coming in. So I don't remember much about how to use this. But stuff like that is note goes to here, gate goes to there. These aren't going to anything anymore. So if we have a sine wave LFO that's going through a divisor. Yeah, this is basically like a modular synthesizer, or is indeed a modular synthesizer, but it all lives in this tiny board. This thing here, which is currently patched up and rolling, and you tell it to do its thing, and then it starts doing it. So what we're going to do is, like, Can I option drag an LFO? No. Can I copy? Can I select it, copy it, and paste it? Yes, I can. Can I tell this not to be a sign LFO, but instead something else, like a square LFO? That will produce a gate output. Okay, we're on to something. We do not need this display. Axolotl would like to control this computer. Okay. Actually, no, let's leave that alone for now. I wonder if that's going to make it not able to talk to the patch. Aha. Check it out, although it's only on an earbud. And there you have it. So that's very crude. And this is what's making that noise. And it says DSP load 9%, so we can do a lot more than this. And my hope is that if I have this all set up to work sort of on the road, and I can patch it into the inputs of this device, we could get into some interesting stuff there. And that also means this has an analog out, so I could run that sound into, like a fuzz tone distortion kind of thing, and that will be purely an entirely analog distortion off of the fairly high res version of a digital out. Because one of the things about this that might not sound all that special, but also notice that it is continuing to make the noise even though I closed that. I'm going to do a little more synth dreamy. Patch live. This wants a MIDI control. So that's something that I'll have to get together. I don't have that together right now. I'm going for hours upon hours just showing you all this stuff. But this is a synth that's running like 90% DSP load on this cute little baby. We've got an SD card, so it can be used to trigger sounds off the SD card as well, and that gives you the opportunity to run with memory and a little hard drive, basically. And what this is a patcher of some kind. This is something. I don't know exactly what this is. I believe there's a way that you can go inside these and see. It says Super saw a synth of a convolution filter that updates with fresh Gaussian noise in every note played. That sounds impressive. And it's looking for a MIDI input, so it's looking for me to play something and I don't have anything set up to play in. But this is the kind of stuff that you can do using the full power of the thing. And it's got a noise generator. It's got table record, so it's like writing to the SD card with all of this. And the note and the gate, I'm not really quite sure where this note thing goes, but we'll assume that it goes somewhere. And yeah, it's all, you know, FX chorus. That might be a bunch of other smaller stuff inside here. Axolotl, man. And we will stop it and close that. Oh, that's not what I'm putting off of. All the different computers everywhere. We'll close out of that. And hello again. Yeah, so like I said, if you're looking to have a bunch of hardware style synths that you can run into like a Motu M4 and have a portable situation, you got like good real analog synths like the Ocoast. I think this is a brilliant choice for some of that stuff. I love the sound that it has. But this is even smaller. Only question is, if they search your badge at the airport, they might find this and go, dude, what are you doing? What is this device? This strange, unaccountable device. Especially if you've got all manner of funny things coming off of it as like distortion boxes and stuff. But I don't know, it might be so much fun that it might be worth it. And that is all, if I'm not mistaken, running off of this CPU chip in here, which is live right now. I think it is anyhow. We got this one and this one, and they're both doing stuff. And the neat thing about specifically Axolotl, which is the reason I have not one, I've got a couple of these. Even though I've been only using it for like MIDI control in my older jams and things, what makes this kind of special is that these outputs are 24-bit. They're 44.1K, but these are 24-bit outs. These are high-res outputs. So if you have a synthesizer of some kind inside here and you're making some kind of cool sounding patch, it'll give you pretty darn good quality of sound from the output directly off of the analog outputs here. And of course, if you code what's inside the Axolotl to be like, okay, this is the outputs of the Axolotl, except for that now it's also running Airwindows Dark, because I coded that into the modules and so on. I haven't done that yet, but it's probably possible to do. And then at that point, all you got to do is filter the outputs, and you have a very high resolution kind of thing. Or you do some other sort of dithering quality and filter that, and then you've got super high resolution on your lower frequencies because you're using analog filtering to average out your quality. All things considered, I think it's probably a very good concept to be running that as an external synth. And although it is a digital device, you can run a hybrid because it has an analog output, meaning that you can run it into analog processing and then recapture it. And there are many good possibilities off of that, like basses that are like FM style basses, but then they're running through a soft clipping analog distortion, and that would make them a lot bigger and gnarlier and fatter, but in a kind of special way that would be more difficult to do in the box. Just stuff. This is stuff that's worth trying, and I'm looking forward to diving into this more in the upcoming year. So on that note, I think we're about done with the stream. It's been going for pretty close to 3 hours or whatever. I need to throw another log on the fire. I should be making lunch or dinner or whatever it is that I'm going to make. And time to chill, and maybe we'll come back next week and do the adding of undersampling to stereo chorus, because we've got that now and it's working, and I can see how people might appreciate it. It's not perfect, but it's a thing, and it existed back in the day. I see no reason that people shouldn't be able to have it as an M1 or a VST or so on. You should be able to have that, but in a way that'll work at higher sample rates. And I'll see what we can do. So I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.